In my life, I just believe that, hey, opportunity just comes on. You have to just take on it. Like people on wait on opportunities. Hey, I'm going to take on anything when all the signals are green for me. I mean, you can't just wait for all signals to get green. Like, to give an example, if you have to go from home to your office, you can't really wait for all signals to get green. You have to just go reach to the first signal, second signal, third signal, and wait for it to become green.
All right, awesome. This one was a bit self-serving for me. I personally would love to fly around the world completely free. And Umesh is the travel hacking master. He's the credit master. He's a master of many things, and he drops nothing but knowledge in today's episode. I am excited to bring this episode to you guys. If you had any questions or any thoughts on traveling the world and doing it for free virtually, improving your credit, or just understanding the hacks behind the credit industry, among many other things, this is the episode to listen to. Housekeeping as always, guys. If you haven't left a review, shared with a friend, listened to a couple episodes, make sure to dive in. We bring on guests at the tops of many industries to give you actionable and tangible steps to apply into your own life and business to start seeing results today. And our plan is to reach as many ears and eyes and lives as possible. So if you can help us along the way with that, that's all we ask. Without further ado, let's get into this episode.
We are good, and we are back in the building with another episode of the Dedication to Excellence podcast. I am your host, Eugene Tamampos, alongside my co-host, Dustin Reyna. What is good with you, big homie?
Doing good, man. Doing good. I'm excited to get on with today's amazing guest we have on here today. It's just by pure luck and timing that we got you on, but I'm excited for it. It's going to be fun.
Yes, absolutely. This is definitely a treat that kind of just stumbled across us, so we are going to take full advantage of it. But this is going to be a fun episode. If you like making money and you like traveling, definitely going to want to tune in. But for those of you listening for the first time, the purpose of this show is to not just inspire and motivate, but to give you real actionable steps and operational strategies from high achievers who have done the things we'll be discussing with them. Because once you're excited, folks, you actually got to go and do some shit. So today's guest is Umesh Agarwal. He is the man when it comes to all things credit, funding, travel hacking. Three things that when you're really good at like he is, you get to live a pretty badass life, which I can't wait for him to talk about. He's got a huge reach, global reach with over 1 million IG followers. So we've crossed the threshold, Dustin. We finally got our first million plus following account here on the show. I'm pretty excited about that. But he definitely built that following because he delivers so much value to the world, and because of that, his message has really resonated. Umesh, I'm excited to meet you and learn your ways, bro. Welcome to the pod.
Hey guys, thank you, Dustin and Eugene, for having me on your podcast. Again, I'm definitely excited to go ahead and share some of the knowledge and best practices from the credit and travel hacking space.
We cannot wait to learn about that. But before we dive into that, of course, we want our audience to know who you are and kind of some of the backstory. So why don't you go take us as back far as you want to go, man? You don't have to tell us what it was like at 1-year-old, but give us some of the highlights from your upbringing.
I'm an immigrant. I'm from Mumbai, India. I was born and brought up in Mumbai, India, and I came here actually around 13 years back for my master's education. So I have a master's in engineering. I came over here for on a student visa, and after a couple of years of graduation, and having been on the United States on a F1 visa, which is student visa, I was able to score uh, a job, corporate job, and I worked on a corporate job for 5 years. And again, that was a learning phase. The main learning phase was I graduated during recession, and you just have to adapt. I mean, there is nothing like you cannot. So in my life, I just believe that, hey, opportunity just comes on. You have to just take on it. Like the best way to the parachute works when it's open, so your mind needs to be open in similar way. So like people on wait on opportunities, hey, I'm going to take on anything when all the signals are green for me. I mean, you can't just wait for all signals to get green. Like, to give an example, if you have to go from home to your office, you can't really wait for all signals to get green. You have to
Sure.
just go reach to the first signal, second signal, third signal, and wait for it to become green. And that was a major learning experience. So I graduated in one field, end up taking a job in another field. And that's like a, but that was a part where, it was a recession. So I just end up taking, never gave up, always had a good attitude, warrior spirit, and made sure like, I'm here to stay. So eventually I go ahead.
I was just going to ask, did you always have that itch in you to be an entrepreneur after once you experienced the corporate world, or was it really just brought on by that recession and you became an entrepreneur out of necessity?
I mean, because of my immigration status, I could not really take on any good opportunities around that time. Although entrepreneur was always being on back of my mind, because I never saw myself who could sit behind a cubicle until I retired. So
Mm-hmm.
I knew that, hey, once I get a good opportunity, at least my immigration status is taken care, I'm going to move on. Like, I'm going to leave the corporate world and start doing something on my own. And luckily, my parents were also good influence, because they were always entrepreneur, they were always in business. No one actually in my family had a job before. I might
Nice.
be the only first person who had a job.
Nice. It's usually the polar opposite, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I worked for 5 years, and since I'm from India, I used to visit my parents every year, and I would just sit in the coach every single time when I fly back. And like, they make you walk through the business aisle and all, and you are like looking at this business class seats, and you'll be like, oh wow, when I'm going to sit in those.
Mm-hmm.
That would always itch me, and that was the really reason what I got started in the credit space, because I wanted to start doing travel hacking. And luckily, fortunately, I had a coworker who was already into travel hacking, and he
Mm.
introduced me to that. He told me like, hey, if you have a good credit, what are you going to do with it? I mean, that was a really good question. Like, what are you going to do with the good credit? You want to take advantage of the good credit. So
Mm-hmm.
first of all, if you have a bad credit, I was a student. I did not have a good guidance in this country, because I don't have any family in this country. So I messed up my credit when I was student. So I built it, like when I started working on the corporate job, I started slowly building it, started paying off some of my collections, getting rid of all the negative items on my credit report. And once I really achieved the good credit, I came across something called travel hacking. When people talk about the travel hacking is real. I know the hacking word sounds bad. When people talk, oh, are you going to hack into my account, are you going to steal my points? No, we don't do anything like that. When it comes to travel hacking, that means, to give an example, like any a first class seat from US to Dubai in Emirates first class, it will cost you anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000. Now, for me, being on a corporate job, my paycheck was just $6,000. How am I going to afford sitting in a business class or first class seats? Because then you are like wondering, like, hey, that's like a 2 3 months paycheck. How are you going
Right.
to afford that?
Yeah.
But again, I mean, there is a dream that, hey, I'm seeing all these first class business class seats, I want to sit in those, because I would be like, hey, next year I will do well and sit in those seats, I will able to purchase that. But it would never happen, right? Like, one year
Mm-hmm.
would pass by, second year would pass by, and that would never happen. And luckily, as I mentioned, I came across the travel hacking. So the travel hacking is nothing but it's like, you are you are taking advantage of something already existing system, which is the point system. People don't take interest on it. So the point system is nothing but like, let's say, as I mentioned, like any first class seat, let's from US to Dubai in Emirates, it will cost you anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000 one way.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you can't afford it. I mean, at least I could not afford it at that point.
Hmm.
So the way I was able to travel hack it, or I was able to go and fly in the first class at that time, was I started accumulating points. So like, you only need about 100. That time I needed only 110,000 points to get an score a first class seat from here to India. And I was like, hey, that's something sounds good, but how am I going to get 110,000 points?
Mm-hmm.
So that is the time I came across something called as, when you sign up for a credit cards, if you have a good score and you sign up for a credit card and meet a minimum spending, like they say like, hey, you spent 2,500 on our credit card in the first 90 days of your sign up, and we'll give you 50,000 points, 75,000 points.
Mm.
And then I was like excited. Then I would go ahead and sign up for like 2 3 credit cards together, earning 75,000 points on each of them. And now I'm here sitting on 225,000 points, easily able to afford one round trip, which is easily anywhere from $20,000 to $30,000 in price.
Wow.
So is it really that easy? Just like take advantage of existing
That
programs?
easy. People, so the thing is that it's people don't take time to learn about the point system. It's
Mhm.
very easy. I mean, if you just figure it out, you learn few of the tricks. It's very easy. Although it could be a little bit does require some kind of research. You can't just like, hey, here is my point. A lot of people just give up on travel hacking because the seats are not easily available. So you have to pre-plan ahead in a, like, you might have to at least plan like 2 3 months ahead. But if you plan that and you keep looking for, and you, of course, you have to have an flexible date. So if you are flying on a certain dates, and if the award seats, so when you get any seats on a point, it's called as award seats or award ticket.
Mhm.
So of course those are limited because it doesn't, those seats doesn't generate revenue. If they are giving away these seats on points, that means it's not generating revenue for them, which anyone else could be buying the same ticket for $10,000 to $15,000.
Sure.
So those, so the reward seats are pretty limited. But if you have a flexible traveling dates, if you are planning 1 or 2 months ahead, you can easily get those seats.
So you just have to book it ahead of time. But once you book it, then it's yours.
Oh, for sure. There's no way. They're not taking it back. It's yours.
So let's bring it all the way back to the beginning then, because I feel like if I get this process right, step
Correct.
one is make sure your credit is good enough to
Yeah.
qualify for these cards that
Yeah,
then give you the points to then
correct.
use
Because
for your fully rides.
these are premium credit cards.
Hmm.
And of course, since these are premium credit card, they require you to have a good credit history and a good credit score.
Got it. So let's bring it all the way back to the beginning of that process then. So if I'm somebody whose credit, let's just say, has room for improvement, what are some of your immediate actionable steps that one can do? Maybe just give us a few different scenarios, kind of based on things you've seen in the past. Um, Recommendations you have for anybody to immediately start climbing, of course, besides paying your bills on time, but any other hacks or strategies that you can recommend?
So, so let's say if you're, I will cover a couple of the things, like what could be like, what could go wrong with your credit, and
Hmm.
then how do you maintain a good credit, and how do you take advantage of a good credit.
All of that, yes, please.
So let's say if you have a bad credit, that means you have a late payments, or you could be having collections. Like I had collections, and then, or it could be like you just don't have a good history. Like I was an immigrant at that time. I did not have a long history. So how do you overcome all of these challenges? So first of all, if you have a collection, there is two way you can get rid of collection: by sending out the dispute letters. So now of course there are some wordings which needs to be used in those dispute letters, like for my company does a good job at removing these collections, late payments, bankruptcies, and all of the negative stuff. So either you can research on your own, there is good amount of materials is available, but a lot of people, they don't want to put time and effort, which we understand, right? I mean, people want, hey, this person knows it, why not I just hire someone? It's like a hiring a lawyer or a doctor, right? I mean, because they are already knowledgeable in that field. Why not I just hire professional, let them handle my credit report, I let them fix all the negative items, and I can just build onto it then.
Hmm.
So either you can do research on your own. Of course, there are a lot of forums available, but of course there could be some of the hiccups also, because some of the letters you might find on online, they might not be up to date, because
Hmm.
the banks, like once has to start sending dispute letters to credit bureaus or bank, they also become smart. They also try to come around it such that they want to get paid, right? I mean, if you have a collection, they want to get paid.
Hmm.
But the good news is it's still removable. So that's how you go and fix it. Like if you have a late payment, you can just contact directly the banks and just tell them, hey, I had some financial situation when I accrued this late payments. Uh, as a goodwill gesture, can you please remove those late payments from my account? And of course, you want to if I wouldn't just call them right away. I mean, it's still good. It doesn't hurt to try it, but it's also good to like wait like 2 3 months, have make the payment on time, show them that, hey, like you are
Like you're
back,
trending in the right direction.
you're trending in the right direction, and you just come back to them and say, hey, I had a financial situation at that time. Or you could be like, hey, I was traveling and there was some family issues here and there, and I could not pay things on time. So can you, as a goodwill gesture, can you please remove this stuff or the late payments from my account? It might work. I mean, most of the time it does work, but still you are at the mercy of the bank to make that decision for you. But it's still, again, it's still good to go ahead and give it a try. The other way you can do it is just, if you have tons of late payment, just close that account and just remove that account in the back end, because once the account is closed, no one is really paying attention. Banks are not interested. It's not an open account anymore. And
Hmm.
you can just remove the whole account itself in the back end.
Got it. So,
Or another strat, there are, like, again, you can have tons of strategies. Or go ahead and open 10 15 additional accounts, secured account. If you have like a good amount of money, go ahead and open secured account. So what is secured account is, like, you are already putting a deposit against that. So I can walk into a bank right now and say that, hey, here is my $300 and I want to open a $300 credit line of secured
mhm.
credit card. So now if you open bunch of this, what will happen is that now the amount of a good, and of course make sure you are paying on time. So once you have this 10 15, the ratio will go down for you on the late payment. Now let's say if you had like a 10 late payments, and now you just open suddenly 5 to 10, maybe don't do it 15, but let's say you open just 5 accounts, new 5 accounts, second credit cards, or some small loan here and there, and now you make the payments on this. Now you're suddenly adding five good payments account, and you are trying to go against, or you are fighting against those 10 late payments. And the way it works, the late payment history works, is like total number of good payments divided by the total payment. But once you start making the good payments go by, the ratio of the late payment will start going down, and it will you start coming towards the 100% on time payment.
So to take this back all the way to the most fundamental conversation about credit, what makes up a credit score? What are the important factors? I know there's things like length of credit history, there's utilization amount. Can you maybe just speak to what
Yes,
makes
so
up a credit
definitely
score
that's
and
a
what are the
really good
priorities?
question, actually. So the credit score is really determined by the 4 to 5 factors. First is really the how much balance you are carrying. So let's say we call it utilization. What is your credit utilization in? Let's say you have a total credit card or the total credit line of $100,000, let's say, for right now. And if you are carrying balances which are worth $50,000 right now on your credit card or on your loans, so your credit utilization is currently the balances you are carrying divided by the total amount of utilization you have. So that's right now you are if you are carrying 50,000, that's like a 50% utilization, and that's a pretty high utilization. So
Mhm.
ideally, you want to be below 30. I mean, ideally you really want to be 0% for sure. I mean, if you can, but it's okay sometime to be below 10% also, but don't cross about 30%. That's where the scores really start affecting you. So that's why I said the number one is the balance. Second, I would
Before we
say
get to the second one, I've heard and correct me if this is false information, but it's actually better to have a little bit of a balance than just to hold zero, because it shows you can actually be responsible with paying credit on time. Is there any truth to that?
it is true to that also. So if you are someone who is just building his credit history, it makes sense. So like Hessa mentioned, I had a bad credit. Now, then once I started building onto the building my good credit, you want to carry some balances. Like you want to carry, let's say you have a $500 credit card, you want to carry anywhere from like $30-40 on it. Don't go beyond 10% again. uh, so and then you are making the payment, that $30-40 you are carrying, so that just helps you out, that hey, he's using the credit card first of all when you are,
Mhm.
and then you are also showing that hey, I'm making the payments on time.
And that will raise your score faster than just holding a 0%, a zero balance.
I wouldn't say it will build very fast, but it will definitely, you are helping in terms of generating the credit history towards. So you are making that a history of a good payments or the on time payments.
Got it. Perfect. So first thing is utilization. And what was the second one?
Second one would be on time payment. So second, as I mentioned, of course, don't ever accrue a late payment. Even a 30 days, one missed payment can bring your score down anywhere from 50 to 70 points.
Oh yeah, that's a question. What are the weight of each of these factors? So the first one was utilization rate. How much does that affect your credit score base, or
So,
as compared to late
so
payments or
has the
on-time
credit
payments?
system has been developed. Every system has been coming, like I don't know if you heard of like FICO 7, FICO 8, FICO 9. So the way the things are moving, the dynamically, the every single time a new system comes in, they are, the weightage they are giving on that particular single factor would be different. So
Mm.
if I had to guess right now, it would be anywhere from 15 to 20% just carrying the balances. But if you're carrying really high balances, your score can dip very low, anywhere from 100 to 150 points.
Mm. Wow. Pay your bills, people.
Yes, on time. That's more important. No, don't just
On
pay,
time.
pay on time.
Got it. And then paying on time, if you had to estimate what percentage of your credit score does that affect?
Paying on time, definitely, it would be anywhere from 20 to 30%.
Oh wow. So
It
even more
carries a
impacts.
pretty, yes, definitely carries a good weightage. Then another third factor would be no negative items. When I say no negative items, that means no collection, no derogatory, like somehow you missed some payment, like, like you moved from one apartment to another apartment and now you forgot to pay the electricity bill or the internet bill. That
Mhm.
will count against, that will show up on your record. Or maybe you went somehow, you end up into an emergency uh, clinic and you forgot to pay that insurance bill. Now that's going to show up on your collection if you don't pay it on time. So
Mm.
ensure you are not accruing any negative items, and that also carry a lot of weightage.
And once you pay like one of those off, let's say you're crossing off the derogatory marks on your credit,
Okay.
how long does that like linger? So let's say, does it have an after effect, like if you pay it off, or
Yeah. So even if you pay it off, if it's a collection, let's say it's a collection, normally collection stays for 7 years on your credit report. So that's something you want to take that into consideration. It looks bad. So if you are applying for this premium credit cards and they see there is a collection, of course, most likely you will be not approved for this credit cards.
Mhm.
And you can imagine having, if a collection goes on your credit report, it will stay up to 7 years. So that means you are decreasing your chances of signing up for a premium credit cards, which we just talked about how useful it is to travel hack.
Are there any methods of getting those removed, kind of like getting something expunged or something?
Yes, definitely. So there is, and that's where this dispute letters come into the picture. Like, what happens really? Let's say when something goes into collection. So have you ever heard of collection agencies? So the original lender
Heard a thing or
hires
two about them.
for sure. You definitely have got calls if you had like a collection in past. So what really happens is like, uh, let's say you original lender who, or maybe your utility bills also like T-Mobile, Verizon, or AT&T. Like if you forgot to pay some bill, you accrued some bill and you just forgot to pay for it, so that they will hire someone called as collection agencies to collect that amount from you guys, or who, if you have a collection. So what will happen in that case is that they will start calling you, uh, but what really
Oh,
happens,
do they?
they might even show up. It has happened to, like, I was a student and suddenly one guy showed up at my apartment with gun, and I was
Dang.
like, who is this guy? I mean, because he was looking for the previous tenant.
Oh
That's
God.
hilarious.
So yeah, so I mean, they will do all the tactics to make sure they recover their collection. Like sometime if you have a car and you are not making payment for the car on time, they will come show up at your home to repossess that car. So there are multiple ways to remove it. Going back to the original question, so by sending dispute letters, by asking them to, hey, if it really belong. So when a collection, when something goes into collections, and when original lender hires a collection agency, what really happens is like the original documents are never handover. So like, let's say collection agency is hired, they don't have original documents. They have is your name, your account number, and how much amount you owe for that collection
Mm.
account.
Hmm.
There is never a possible, they never have original document. All these collection accounts, they are transferred from one agency to another agency in Excel sheet format. So there is no original documentation.
Mm.
So what you can really do is like send out the dispute letters, ask them to prove them that, uh, to show them the original documents. So most likely
Mm.
they will not have it, and by law they will have to take it off from your credit report if they can't prove it in a certain amount of time.
So you put the burden of proof on them, knowing that they don't have the documentation. I
Correct.
like it.
So sometimes they might have it and they will try to play hardball, uh, because they might just go take it back to the original lender, and of course original lender will definitely have the history of the account. But a lot of time, as I said, like if that collection has been on your record for like more than a year, 2 year, 3 year, the most likely there has been a lot of handovers. So if the first collection agency is not able to recoup the collections from you or from any their client, they will pass it on to the second collection agency, thereby third collection agency. And as I mentioned, during all this handover, there is only a handover of this Excel sheet. There is never a handover of the original documents.
Fascinating.
With original documents in mind, I've heard that another way of kind of getting those wiped out is sometimes when it crosses hands from one
Uh-huh.
debt collector to another, it always has to remain in the original debt collector's name. It has to be directly from that creditor. And then different agencies will have it coded differently, and sometimes that little typo could just be your saving grace at getting certain things. Is
Correct.
that also a
So
method?
those three, yeah, you are right. What you're saying. That's another. So as I mentioned, there are multiple strategies people utilize, because one might work for you, and it may not work for Eugene. But another strategy might work for Eugene, and that might not work for you. So it just depends. Like you have to try multiple strategy. But I am aware of what you're saying. It's called M2C letters. Like you are looking for those typos where you're just saying, hey, this doesn't really belong to me because this is not a right address, or this is not a right last name or first name, or
Wow.
you are missing my middle name.
Love it. So back to the makeup of a credit score, we got to the third one, which was removing derogatory items. So what's the fourth one?
So fourth one is another very important one, which is the length of your credit report.
Mm.
So we call it normally the average age. So how that determined is, let's say you open an account 10 years back, and suddenly you open another account, let's say today. So now you will have two accounts on your credit report, one which was opened 10 years back and one which was just opened recently, and they're going to average that out. When I say that, that means they're going to take that 10 plus 0 because you just opened it, and then they're going to divide by 2 because you have a total two accounts on your credit report. Now your average age of your credit report will be 5 years. So that's a strong good credit history to have, a good average to have. Normally, now on an average, anywhere from 2 to 3 years is good.
I have a personal question. So I have this credit card that I got when my credit was just recovering. So I'm blessed to say my credit now is a lot better than it once was when I was 21-year-old with access to credit cards. And you can only imagine just how hard I went when I went to Vegas that month. And then I
I went
realized you had to
to
pay that
Canada.
money. Yeah,
I
we've
went
all
to Cancun.
we've all been there before. So when I finally got a unsecured credit card, so I did the secured credit card route to get myself out of the dumps. And then I finally got an unsecured credit card, but this credit card fucking sucks. Like I have to pay, I don't know, it charges me like I don't use it, but it charges me a few bucks every month in fees, and it's just super annoying. And I want to cancel it, but I almost don't want to because it's my oldest credit card. And I'm thinking, is the benefit of canceling this card worth it? Because it does prolong my credit history. Although my other credit cards that I have good history with, I have had for a few years now. So, I mean, from that information, sure, you could probably dig a little bit more and give me a better answer. But from that information, should I cancel this damn card because it's annoying?
It depends. I mean, it depends on what is your credit limit is, and second, how much fees you are paying and how old is this credit card. So if you give me all those answers, I can kind of help you out. But here is a, let me give a really good hack on building a long history. So the way, have you ever heard of something called as authorized users?
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that. Yes, please share.
That is the best way to build your history. So uh, so that's what I did actually. So I had a friend who was of course very generous at that time, helped me to add on his credit card which was 15-year old. So you can just imagine being an immigrant who
Nice.
just landed like 2 years back in this country, and I was added on 15-year-old credit card that just really helped me to boost my age of the credit. So that's the one really hack. I mean, a lot of people, the first way you could really do is like approach your friends and family who might have a good credit card. So the best way I always tell them to look at is like, of course, look at the become an authorized user on a card which is like really old, possibly anywhere from for at least 3 to 5 year old. The payments have been on time because you are literally borrowing that credit history on, you are going to literally mirror that credit history whatever you have for that particular account onto your credit report. So you want to make sure they did not have late payments. So
Sure,
if they had late payments, it's going to show up on your credit report that you
sure.
had late payment. Third thing you want to keep in mind, balance. Remember I said that's the first thing. Balance is something which you want to keep in mind because that's going to make and break your score. So if let's say if they are, that card is $10,000 credit limit and they are carrying $9,000 balance, that's a big no,
Mm,
because that's going to bring, because now it will look like, if you become an authorized user on that credit card, it will look like you are carrying balances of that $9,000. Your utilization is 90%, and it's going to bring your score down instead of helping you. So of course you are trying to get seek and help on your average age or your credit age. But if you are not looking at that late payment history, you are not looking at balances, it's going to hurt you instead of helping you.
Now, what if so you're borrowing their history, but are you also opening up yourself to potential things in the future that go wrong? So let's say you
Oh,
no.
so that's a very good answer. The answer is no, because you are not responsible for that particular account. If something goes wrong, you can just call the bank and tell them, hey, I want to be removed from this credit card or this particular account, and they will do it because it's, and the good thing is if they end up carrying balances, only the primary, that means the account who it belongs to, is the only person who is responsible for any balances or anything goes wrong with that credit card. You are not responsible for it. So that's the good part of becoming an authorized user on someone else's credit card.
So I asked my mom if she'd let me be an authorized user recently, and she said hell no. Um, I was trying to explain to her there wasn't really much downside, but she just didn't want to, like, hook your boy up.
No, so what you, the one other way you can convince someone would be like, hey, just add me on your credit card, and as soon as you get the credit card in mail, don't even bother giving me the credit card in my hand.
Oh,
Just activate just activate the credit card and just cut it right away.
Nah, I told it was just a principle thing. She just didn't want to feel like she was giving me a handout. That's really what it was. But that's very effective strategy that I
No,
learned
but
about recently.
some people are concerned that, hey, if I end up adding someone as an authorized user and that guy might just go start spending, and now actually the account really belongs to him.
Yeah.
He's the one who really is responsible for the balances. So the way you can go around is like, just just tell them, hey, you don't have to give me the credit card. You don't even have to tell me the numbers. Just add me as an authorized user. As soon as you get it in mail, activate it and cut the credit card, or
I just got to have her give you a call, bro, so you can tell her, like, from a third-party expert perspective, like, Mom, trust me, nothing's going on here. And the reason I was asking for that was because I know there's you want to get your personal credit right, so then you can then leverage it for business credit and funding purposes. So I was wondering if we can maybe kind of shift the conversation in that direction. So once you get your personal credit right, how do you go ahead and leverage that for business lines of credit, and just some conversation around that?
So the way I personally worked in my experience, I was just building my personal credit. I was just trying to make it strong. So initially, when my score became really good, I could figured out, hey, now it's time that where I'm able to apply for premium cards and get it approved. So I literally, when I figured it out, I literally applied for 22 credit card in the first year itself.
Wow.
And let me tell you a myth. People think applying for 20-30 credit cards, it will bring your score down. The answer is no. Yes, your average age will go down for sure. Yeah. But if you are using that, if you are also becoming an authorized user on older credit cards, you're going to maintain that age.
Mm-hmm.
But the only thing which really will affect is like you will see a lot of inquiries on your on your credit report, but that doesn't really bring your score down. That just brings uh it only brings your score down by 1 or 2 points, and it goes up after 3-4 months as long as you are paying all the credit cards on time.
Good to know.
I've heard
So go ahead.
the shopping cart trick. Is that something you've heard about to kind of avoid the inquiry ping? It's like when you're checking out, you're offered the credit card, and at that time it doesn't count as like a ping.
Yes, it sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. You are right what you're saying. Sometimes when they offer you, they might not do inquiry, and they might be just like, because they are, of course, credit card right now is a business. It's a multi-billion-dollar business. Banks make just 10 billion, 20 billion profit just on the credit card. So you can imagine like how big the credit space right now. So yes, so there are like, when you are shopping, and they tell you, hey, here it is, you can apply for a credit card, and you don't have to pay anything for whatever you're purchasing right now. It does work, but it's not 100%. It might still trigger an inquiry because they're still going to take your social security number to sign you up for the credit card.
Yeah.
So the other way people do it, like, let's say for example, uh, you can just go ahead and apply and freeze on your credit on one of the credit bureaus. So like, recently, the if you heard of the Apple credit card, which Apple just started, I think they started in last year or 2018. Uh, so what people were really doing was they were going and freezing their TransUnion credit bureau's credit report. So the freeze is something it's free. You can just call the credit bureau and say, hey, I want to freeze my account or freeze my credit report. That means you will not see any hard inquiry showing up on your account, a new hard inquiry. So when you go and apply for that card, they will they are not able to pull your credit report because there is a freeze, but they will just ask you security questions and get you approved for the credit card. So that's so another way you can avoid it by applying a freeze on the credit cards or the credit bureaus. Or sometimes the people, I mean, if you, there is another way people use this particular hack is that, let's say you have tons of inquiries on your experience and of course the chance, and you are applying for a premium credit card and you know that, hey, this bank is kind of stubborn, like they don't like having too many inquiries, but this you are already know that, hey, this bank is going to pull my experience, so you go ahead and freeze the experience.
Mm,
And what will happen is like they'll be like, hey, we can't pull your experience. Then you can request them, hey, can you go ahead and pull my TransUnion or Equifax where you do not have much inquiries. Now what will happen is like most likely they will end up pulling your TransUnion and Equifax. Now since they don't see a lot of inquiries over there, the chances of your approval goes up.
love the finesse. What's the best way for somebody to see their credit history without? Because I know you pull your credit reports, that also affects your credit, right? So
No, that's wrong.
no.
That's a wrong assumption. No, pulling your own credit report, it will never affect your score. Unless you are sitting in a car dealership and he's pulling your credit report 10 times because he's trying to get you loan approved for the car from a 10 different banks, then yeah, that's going to affect it. But if you pull your own personal credit report by yourself, it will never affect your credit score.
What are the right platforms to do that? Like, is a something like a say Credit Karma, is that accurate, or are there better sources?
I mean, the better sources are just pulling straight from the credit bureaus itself. They have this monthly packages, and it's of course it's always good to keep and track of your credit report, right? You just never know what will show up on your credit report, and of course, if you are keeping track of your credit score, that means you are improving your knowledge about the credit and how it's affecting you, and you are kind of making sure that you are on always it's like, let's say if there is an highway and you know the good speed to have on there is 60, but if you are not looking at your speedometer, how would you really know that what speed you are driving at? So same goes for the credit
Facts.
score also, that you want to keep an eye on it. I mean, of course, you don't want to check every single hour, but you should at least glance at your credit score every week because it keeps updating, or sometime at least in a month, to see what's going on with your credit score. And I would say the best way to really, of course, Credit Karma does give you the free access to your credit report, but you have to keep in mind they are only giving you access to two credit bureaus, which is TransUnion and Equifax. You are not able to see your experience score. And in my experience, most of the banks, they are depending on FICO score and experience most of the time. So the thing with the Credit Karma is it's not a FICO score, it's an Vantage 3.0 score.
And what is the difference?
I mean,
Without
it's
getting too
not
technical.
yeah, we are getting too technical, but they both have different weight factor, like what we are discussing about, like, hey, how your credit
Sure.
score really measured is. So they have a different weightage for all these other, like all these 4 or 5 different factors. Uh, so that's the reason why your FICO score would be different from the Vantage score. And
And
as I said, like a lot of time come across a lot of people, hey, my Credit Karma is 700, but when I went into the bank,
yeah,
it was 600, it was 550. It is because the weightage is different. And they are like, oh, the Credit Karma is a fake score. It's not for fake score, it's a different measuring system.
got it. But in the hierarchy of scores, is it safe to say FICO is at the top of that hierarchy?
Yes. So what has happened is like most of the industries or the lenders or the creditors, they are mostly pulling your FICO score. And
Got it.
even when it comes to TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian, in my experience, I have seen most of the time the pull is the Experian.
Okay, so to shift gears a little bit, so now that we've got our personal credit in check here,
Okay.
back to your story.
Yes.
So just walk me through that season of life where you like shift now to doing all these cool travel hack things. And I mean, because you said you had an interest in it, but like, did you realize it was gonna get this big? And then how did you build like a brand around that? Because sure, you could have just learned how to do this and kept those secrets to yourself, but like, what made you want to turn this into like a whole business and brand?
So I don't think so. It's a secret anymore, actually, because I myself learned from the internet blog. So if, when I was getting starting out, I was like reading these blogs like 1 mile at a time, the points guy. If you just Google, man, you'll find so many blogs and all where they are showing you every single traveling hacks. But of course, it does require research, it does require passion. I mean, it does require motivation, because if someone is not motivated, if someone don't feel that urge for travel hacking, I know a lot of my friends, they're like, if they need something, they will just come to me and ask, hey, how can I book this ticket? But
Mm,
for me, it was like, hey, I want to learn this trick, right? I mean, I want to know, how can I access Singapore first class suite? How can I get on Emirates? So my passion is to experience all the first class which is in the sky right now. And I would
nice.
be like, hey, I would be like, hey, I want to fly a Lufthansa first class. I want to fly, say, Emirates. I want to fly Etihad. I want to fly to Germany. So, what are the best ways? What are the best airlines I can fly on? How can I travel hack around it? And the, even in point system, there are like so much crazy, like, like, it's just not about having points, it's also about efficiently using it. So let's say, to give an example, you can book the same ticket from multiple different airlines. Like, one airline might be offering the same ticket for 100,000, but you might find another airline which is offering the same ticket for 70,000 points. So now you are just saving you that 30,000 points right there, just because you did never explore all the possible hacks which you could have used to book that the same route, same airline, same seat. So
So are most of your days just spent looking for ways to hack this?
yes, I wouldn't say it's hack. We call it a hack. It is just like learning the
Doing
system,
research.
doing research. Like, of course, if you want to fly to New York, you can travel in a car or you can take a flight. So, the, of course, you're going to make it to the New York somehow, but there are so many ways. So I was just always exploring all different kind of possibilities or routes which I can just use it to make that earn that particular award ticket. So in the travel hacking, it's not just about getting on that flight on of sitting in the first class. Is also about, in my opinion, is how efficiently you are using your points,
So how
because points is a currency, and if you are not utilizing that currency
points is
properly,
the currency. There's
so
the
then
tagline for this episode. Points is the currency. I like it.
sounds good.
How so how many first class flights have you been on? Have you
I have lost my
kept
count.
track?
I
It's such
have
an
lost
awesome
my
bro.
count. I've been on a airline, Air France, Lufthansa, Emirates, Etihad, Singapore, uh, man, United, American Airline, Delta, and all. I have done all possible first class right now,
It's amazing.
but
How has COVID impacted your travel schedule here?
it's not really. I have seen the number of flights has gone down, but the number of people flying are also less. So the seats are easily available actually because of COVID.
So you've been traveling more than ever?
I wouldn't say that, because there are still a lot of those travel restrictions where you have to get tested 72 hours before and all.
Sure.
But I've been flying a lot. I mean, of course, there was a little bit of fear that, hey, I'm going to catch COVID if I travel. But personally, in my opinion, I don't think so. You are going to catch COVID just from traveling. I know so many people because I'm in so much in this travel community. Like, I know a lot of people are traveling. Of course, there was a fear initially that,
Mhm.
hey, you're going to catch it, but eventually you did figure out, hey, people are traveling, and they are not catching anything. So yeah, it's fine. You can
Yeah.
still travel.
It almost makes you think this whole thing has been blown out of proportion. Anyway,
So,
save that for
yeah, I don't want to go in there, but yeah, just that's just my opinion.
if we had more than 5 minutes left on this podcast, we could potentially dig more into that. Um,
So I want to just cover quickly. I'm not
Please.
sure. How do we have a time here?
We're on your time. We're on your time, baby.
So I just want to cover like, so as I mentioned, like, hey, like signing up for a lot of credit cards is not going to affect your score. Of course, don't carry balance. Make sure you're paying on time, because those are the really thing which will really catch you on the score. So I was maintaining a Excel sheet, like, 'cause I have so many freaking cards. Like, I used to have this. I literally at this point I have 120 different credit cards.
Let's go.
and and it's hard to keep track of this, right? I mean, how we so the best way I personally do it, like, I have an Excel sheet. I put the like the last four digits of the credit card number. What type of card is that? Is it a Chase Sapphire Reserve, Chase Freedom Unlimited? Like, there are so many products, Chase Ink.
Here's a quick question, if
Yeah.
you don't mind rounding up to a number. What would you say is your total credit limit across all the cards right now?
So just on my personal card is currently uh 600K,
It's a
because
lot
Okay.
of
I've
money.
been just signing up for so many credit cards that, and that's how I build my credit line. That I would be just
Mhm.
like, I was signing up for so many credit cards that eventually my credit line just kept growing up. And then eventually I was like, hey, what am I going to do with these credit lines? And that's where I started looking into other avenues where I can use this credit card, use this as an investment, pay back the credit card even before the statement close. So that way I can avoid accruing this interest and turn these credit lines into generating profit.
Oh man. Walk us through some of the ways you've leveraged your credit to generate profit, because that's actually a season of life I'm looking in right now where I'm like, okay, I've built my credit up. Like, what can I do with this
So
besides do some cool travel stuff?
yeah, so that, I mean, of course, cool travel stuff is really good. Looks good on the Instagram. If you ever go on my Instagram, you'll see all the first class over
It's
there.
popping, yo.
Oh yeah.
And then the second way, once let's say you build all these credit lines, now you want to utilize it. So the way I got started was I was buying a lot of products. So I was personally doing this lot of products research. Uh, like, the one way I was doing was, there is something called as gift card arbitrage. Of course, it's little bit of a risky. It's not nothing illegal, nothing. So don't worry about it. So I was buying this gift card. So right now is the best time actually. It's the holiday season. So the
I think I
target.
know where you're going with this, but please continue.
Okay. So target would be, it's in fact it's about to start selling. I just read today on a blog that they have a particular I don't know the exact date. I know we are recording it today on November 30th. Uh, so Target is about to really, they have a promo where they're going to sell a $100 Target credit card for $90. So that means it's a 10% discount. And the way people do it is like, they would, of course, they will limit per store, but if you have friends and family, you can just take them along, have them use your credit card. You can be standing next to them or make them an authorized user on your credit card. And yeah, just buy those gift card. Now, the good thing, if you are in a gift card arbitrage where you can easily sell those gift cards, if you're buying for $90, you can easily sell for those for $92, $93. Now, that's right there. You made that 2-3% profit, but in the process, if you have a cashback credit card, you also
Mhm.
made, I mean, depending on what credit card you're using, you made additional target them. They themselves have those. There are like 2-3% credit cashback credit card. Now you made that an additional another 2-3% on that particular purchase. So you made anywhere
Nice.
from 5 to 6% profit just from that single transaction. And if you just go, I mean, I was hardworking, I was a hustler. I would go to 30, 40 Target all around the city. I would just keep buying. I would buy $10,000 to, I mean, I was just doing crazy volume that time. I would buy $50,000, $100,000 of gift cards all around. I would just, that would be just my whole thing, weekend thing. If I have a free time, I'm going and buying gift cards, which
And
are,
then was there an online platform that you would sell them on, or?
yeah, there are a lot of online platforms. Is I'll have to, I mean, I can mention like uh, some of this online platform, they went underbelly. So that is
Hmm.
something like kind of risky things you have to keep in mind. Sometimes, like there are a lot of gift card frauds also.
Hmm.
So that's, I mean, it's not you're going to lose money for sure, but you want to make sure your data is secured. You are not releasing that information unless you are just, you're only releasing that information only to the person or the organization or the company you are selling it to.
Got it. So flipping
So
gift cards.
yeah, so just imagine if you are doing like if you are using that credit card, you have $100,000 credit line and you are buying 100,000 or $100,000 of gift card and you are making that 6% to 5% profit right there. You are talking about, you just made $5,000 to $6,000 on it. And that was not the only thing I was doing. I was buying a lot of games, flipping them, like collection items, uh, l- anything which might go on promotion on Amazon. I would just buy it and flip it using, I will use my credit card to buy those items, and just like any arbitrage, right? I mean, just buying
Sure.
something at the low cost and selling at a high cost, or sometimes you just buy. I would also buy show tickets. Like there is like a US Open happening, and I would buy the tickets for the final. I don't care who is playing. I would just go and buy the ticket, whatever the possible is that. Because if the ticket is costing me 1,500, which I'm just buying it on my credit card anyway, and I would just go and flip it on StubHub or the other website for $3,000, $4,000. Because by the
Sure.
time the final is approaching, you are, trust me, if like some big players are going to the final, people don't care. People are paying $4,000, people are paying five thousand
So
dollar
you would buy it
and
way ahead of time.
yeah, of course, you want to buy like some concert ticket like Justin Bieber or Madonna and all those kind of, like I would just buy. Or like if any particular band which doesn't tour frequently, and that ticket is going to get sold out.
Flipping Justin Bieber tickets. Hell yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Man, there is so much to learn. There is
How
so
much
much
to
to
learn?
implement. But I know we're coming up on time here, so maybe we can start bringing it home. We usually have a couple rapid fire questions, then our final question. So one of my rapid fire questions is, for somebody getting into the travel hacking game,
Yes.
this is a completely self-serving question. What is there a credit card that you recommend that it's not a super high barrier to entry? This isn't the American Express Black Card, but it's also not like the shitty card that I had when I was 21. Like, what's a nice in the middle of the route card that
I
you
would
recommend?
say anything like a Chase Sapphire card. It really easy. Like recently they had, like, even in fact I even posted. I think they recently had like 70 or 100,000 sign up, 100,000 points as a sign up bonus. That means you just have to go and spend $3,000 on credit card, and you are getting a free 70,000 to $100,000 in points. And if you really convert that into money, because you can cash out your points also, a lot
Mhm.
of people don't know, like you can easily convert all these points into cash. That's anywhere from $700 to $1,000 free money. Or if you want to really utilize it for traveling, I would say you are talking about anywhere from 5 to 10 grand of a ticket, depending
Hell
on what
yeah,
you
dude. Hey, when I get this card and make this happen, you're coming with me somewhere, bro. Deal?
want. Or I would say another card would be if you're a American Express Platinum card. So you have to keep in mind. So all these premium card, they really come up with a good bonus, but they also come up with a high annual fee. But
Mhm.
there are way around it. A lot of people don't sign up for this uh, premium card because they have a high annual fee. But a lot of people don't even know that there is something called has a retention bonus. So let's say you can after a year you can give them a call, tell them, hey, I don't want this card anymore. And what will happen is like they want you to keep that card. So they will start throwing at you, hey, what if we give you $200 credit? You just have to go and make a purchase of $200 and we'll just give you the $200 back. Or a lot of time, a lot of this premium card comes with the traveling benefits. Like you just have to go and book the ticket. So like one of the Chase Sapphire Reserve card, it's a currently it's a $450 annual fee, but a lot of people don't know. You can literally book a ticket, or if you are someone who takes tollways, you can use that card towards the tollways, uh, charge it for your tollway account, and they will give you the credit back for of up to $200 back. And then if you are really into traveling, you can off it also comes with something called has TSA pre-check or the global entry. That's $100 right there. And there are so many things people just don't realize that although is yes, annual premium cards does come with a high annual fee, but there is so much advantage to be taken out. They have so many benefits that it's going to really save you money in the long term.
Love it. I have two more rapid fire questions. I don't know if you have any, Dustin, but I got two more before our final. So I'll just go ahead and ask him, and if you got any, Dustin, throw them out there. My next rapid fire question is, where have you not traveled yet that you want to go to?
That's a good question. So I haven't been much to South American countries. So that's something I'm currently checking off my bucket list. I've been to literally almost all part of South Asia, Europe, uh, Australia, Africa. Now South America is something I'm currently exploring.
All right. So once I get these points right, bro, we out. I'll call you. We over there. Okay. Last rapid fire question is so you have room for any authorized users on any of your credit cards there, buddy?
I mean, how to say that even authorized users is a strong business. So if you have a good credit cards, you can literally sell the spot for your authorized user. People just sell the spots for like $200, $500, depending on what you value, and that's another big business right now.
I will
So,
shoot me
so
a
imagine.
quote and we can talk.
No, but what I'm trying to say here is having a good credit, that is how people leverage it. And I just don't understand why people just take the credit for granted. I mean, people literally make anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000 just by selling authorized user spot.
Like
Crazy, right? I mean, you'd never heard of that's like a replacing a income, like a master's. Someone just graduated from masters, and other people are just replacing that income based on just having a good credit.
you got so many ideas going through my head right now. Okay.
Yeah,
I
we
did
can
you have
sit
any?
all night here if I just keep throwing ideas at you.
No,
Yeah.
we're gonna have a much continued dialogue from this point on. Now that we're BFFs. Dustin, do you have anything before we ask our final question? Or actually, well, go ahead and take our final question away, Dustin.
Yeah,
You
I think
asked
I'll
way
just
much better
finish
than
with
I
the
do.
final. Let you get back to your night. I know you had some big plans. The final question, we are the Dedication to Excellence podcast. So we always like to end with a signature question. Always has an awesome diversity among our interviewees. But what, in your own words, does it mean to live a life in dedication to excellence?
So in my case, I don't want to be having an average life. If I mean, you don't want to follow the masses. You always want to excel. You want to be always dedicated. You want to always take it to the next level. I'd like to treat my life as I'm playing a game. So when you are playing a game, what are you are trying to do in the game? You are trying to go to the next level. If you are on a level 10, you want to take it to 11. You want to take it to 12. You want to take it to eventually 100. And am I grateful for what I have? I'm pretty sure I'm definitely grateful for whatever I have, but I still don't take that thing for granted. I want to keep growing myself, and I want to go and achieve that next level of excellence. So that's what I'm always dedicated at, and I'm always striving toward that. Hey, I want to go and achieve the next level of excellence.
Whatever country that might be found in. Umesh, thank you so much for your time, brother. We'll go ahead and leave it right there. Can you please let the audience know where they can find you and follow your journey and learn more?
So if you can Google me, I mean, you'll definitely able to find a lot of articles about me. I personally run my public relationship, a PR company also. So you find a lot of articles on me and all some articles written for my clients. Or you can just go on the Instagram and follow me on at real real dot umesh umesh. Or you can just write me on my email, which is umesh at umeshagarwal.com. I'm
Love it,
not
brother.
giving my personal number.
Follow that Instagram. Add a couple more to the million. He's leading a great
Okay.
life.
That's
Expecting a
awesome,
lot of
man.
followers from you guys.
Oh yeah, you're about to go even more viral than you already have. But hey, appreciate you so much, brother. Looking forward to traveling the world with you, and I'll keep you updated on my credit journey here because it's been on
Sure.
the up and up. So I was very excited to have this conversation. But hey, thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
your time. On behalf of the Dedication to Excellence podcast and my co-host Dustin, all of our listeners, we love you. We appreciate you. Keep the great feedback coming. Keep leaving the reviews. We were flying up the charts and we were just warming up. So with that, everybody stay blessed. We just wrapped up the Thanksgiving weekend, so hopefully everyone is grateful and thankful and full. And we will catch you on the next episode of the Dedication to Excellence podcast. We out. Peace.